Braveheart Conversations,
where we learn the art of love through brave and compassionate conversations. I'm Jillian Aurora.
And I'm Marie Wallace.
And we are your hosts today. Welcome to Braveheart Conversations. Every Thursday morning. We love joining you here. I'm Jillian Aurora. This is my co-host, Marie Wallace.
Hi, guys.
And we are just super, super blessed to be here with you this morning. Thank you for joining us wherever you have found us. If you're catching the replay, we are on Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, Facebook, all the things. So you can find us in our group, Braveheart Conversations, and find all of our past episodes there if you'd like. And with that, let's get started. I am kind of excited, kind of not excited to talk about this topic. I just figured this was really relevant because this was something that I've been really experiencing. And so I figure, all of us, any of us that dare to do great things will experience the imposter syndrome. And that's kind of where I've been at the last couple of weeks. It's been kind of a difficult year for many of us. And especially those of us who have really stuck our necks out there and done some brave and courageous things, it can feel really treacherous. So I want to talk about that today and talk about some ways that we can help ourselves through that and realize the illusion, because that's really what it is. It's not real. I can have moments where I am so sure of myself, so confident that what I'm doing is relevant and it is meaningful and I'm creating this huge impact. And then there are moments where I feel like I'm an absolute failure. What am I doing? Who do I think I am? All the things. And it's very human.
Very human.
Again, I think this is a good way to gauge what bravery you have decided to employ. What courageous activity have you decided to tackle? Because that's when these voices show up. They don't show up when you're doing something safe. They don't show up when you're playing small. They just don't. They show up when you're doing something big. They show up when you're doing something out of the ordinary. So, in a way, this is a trick for me, is to celebrate those moments when I'm having those oh my God, I'm such a failure, what am I doing moments. I get to celebrate that because I'm having those moments. It means that I'm doing something tough. You were going to say something. I can feel it.
No. You hit all the buttons. It's whenever I go to take on something big, it's that and it's always just before the moment, my first conference, I just remember it's just so much pressure. And then the day before, it's I don't know who I think I am. I don't even know I'm going to pull it off. And then, but I love that you say you celebrate that, because that does mean you're doing something huge and out of the ordinary and not your everyday run-of-the-mill routine. So I want to talk about some of the ways that I have found help me through this, and then some of the ways that I probably could benefit from and don't always do. So maybe some things to avoid too.
So, for me, I like that idea of flipping it and celebrating when I have those moments, because it means it's something big. Another thing that has really helped me is, so the work that I do is around women's empowerment and specifically codependency and domestic violence, and that sort of thing that's my gig. And there's some very specific barriers that come up for me that are interesting around business, because I really want to make everything accessible, but I also very much have learned the lesson about cheapening myself. And so there's like this constant tension in my head, like, how do I make this accessible, and how do I still make this something that's a living for myself and value my time? So like, it's a constant thing in my mind. And so when I have those really difficult moments, what I will do is I will pull up a saved folder that I have, where I have screenshotted all of the times that I've been sent messages or comments or something where someone has said that meme you posted totally changed my day. Or because I'm aware of boundaries, I avoided this relationship that was clearly heading towards abuse. Or, those big, profound moments, I will screenshot them, and they really do make a difference. When I'm flipping through that and I'm having a moment and I'm like, maybe I should just give it all up and go back to a 9 to 5. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. When I have those moments, I will pull out that folder and I will remind myself that no, all of those little things that you are seeing as insignificant right now were really significant, and they made a huge difference in someone's life. And that's the biggest thank you for me. That's the biggest payoff.
It's looking for the evidence, because what happens in imposter syndrome is we're looking at the evidence, what we think is evidence that we're not making an impact. Mm-hmm. And so we're counting all the way. See, I did this and I didn't do this, and if I was really a good coach, then I would have done this instead. Which is what I love about your folder, because it's evidence that we are making a difference, and it's evidence that no matter how big or how small, we are making an impact, and that impact also ripples. Mm-hmm. And so, it's looking for evidence. So when you find yourself in that situation, what's the evidence that you are making an impact, instead of looking at all the ways that you're not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really what it goes back to for me is, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this for a specific outcome or payoff? Or am I doing this simply because I trust that my intuitive guidance is right no matter what? Like, I can lose everything. Mm. And that's okay. Like, I'm going to rest in trusting that my intuitive guidance is correct. And I think about the people like, we were just talking about Brene Brown, and how in one of her books, she talks about how a bunch of her books went to the shredder. Like, she was a failure at the time. And man, that her sharing that vulnerably has helped me tremendously, because there are moments when I feel like all my books are going to the shredder and nobody sees me and nobody cares. And it's, I've produced this work of love, and it's no big deal. Like, nobody cares. So I love that I can look at Brene Brown, who I feel has made such a huge impact in this world, and just in my life alone. Like, her work profoundly changed me. And to know that she experienced that really helps me in those moments. And maybe me sharing this will do that for some other person out there too, that, she experiences that too, just like I do. Like, we all have it.
Dr. Seuss, his work ended up in a trash can. He had brought it to several people to publish, and they're like, we don't get this. We don't understand it, because it's at a different level. And, and now we, in this generation, love Dr. Seuss, but even he went through all of those kinds of things. So just think about people that you admire, that they have these moments as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's helpful to know. And even some people make it their entire life without recognition, and then their work becomes famous.
Yeah, they've died. And
just like musicians and artists. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of people who are so admired today, and they never knew it in their lifetime. And in a way that's tragic and in a way that's beautiful, because it means like they stayed true to themselves, even if they weren't getting
from their heart.
Yeah, and they weren't getting validation for it in their entire life, but they still did it anyway. And there's something so powerful and beautiful in that.
That drive to just do this thing.
Regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, regardless.
Yeah, because, I mean, really, their work could have just burned and been forgotten. And that's...
And no one picked it up out of the trash can.
Right?
Or the shredder.
Yeah. So, anyway, like, those are some of the things that help me. Another piece that helps me is protecting my space, because there are a lot of people that are very...
want to have a say.
Yeah, and they will feed that doubt. Instead of saying, no, you got this, and you... I don't know how it's going to turn out, but you clearly have a calling and you need to stick with that and believe in that. There are lots of people who will say, yeah, you need to get your head out of the clouds. You need to put your feet back in reality.
Go get a job.
Go get a job. Yeah. There are lots of people who will do that. And so protecting your space and not allowing the voices that are already toxic and already dangerous in your own head, allowing those to be fed by other people can really be destructive and just can take you down. So protecting your space and having those boundaries. And then this is where I fall down, especially after COVID and this year. It's been incredibly isolating for a lot of us. Mm-hmm. And so what I haven't done as much as I really could is surrounding myself by people who do believe in me and encourage me. I think that's really been missing, and that has taken a toll. And I really feel like that's a big part of why I have experienced so much more of the imposter syndrome recently, is just because I don't have that connection.
We don't have our cheerleaders in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Like we usually
and that's an intentional choice. You know, we get to look for those people and intentionally include them in our space. So, I mean, I get my weekly dose of Marie.
Me too. I get Jillian. So,
but man, it's a lot more isolating than it used to be. I know those of us that work at home, we're constantly alone. We've got the computer screen.
And it's okay, but it's hard to sometimes to get that energy back.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways that you've dealt with the imposter syndrome?
Well, it's interesting you said that, because this one thing I do is called the pause, and it's kind of capturing that thought and going, is this really true? I mean, or am I just, because sometimes it's just blowing it out of proportion, or is this just a momentary feeling that I'm having? So sometimes just pausing and doing a small evaluation that says, probably not true. And I love your folder idea. I do have some cards and letters that I keep from many years past, and I've been very blessed to have those supporters, and every once in a while, and sometimes when I'm really down, I'll get just the right text, or just the right email, or just the right comment. And so I just have to really go back and look at that evidence. But pausing really helps me a lot. Just going, that is not true. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to feel the feeling. Yeah. And it's icky, and it doesn't feel good at all, but then you just kind of let it pass through you. You don't want to stuff it.
Yeah, and sometimes it is telling you something that needs to be tweaked or changed. And that's part of
pivot time.
Yeah, it's part of the growth process. I think what can be destructive and dangerous is when we are considering giving it up entirely. You know, there's a big difference.
I've been close to that a few times.
Yeah, me too. I've had those moments like, fuck it all. I don't care. But, you know, there's a big difference between that and saying, you know, I'm going to change this product a little bit, or, you know, this obviously isn't pinging for people. I'm going to shift here or shift there. And that can be really productive. Mm-hmm. Again, I feel like that really goes back to having a solid circle of wisdom around you, and people that can give
people that'll be honest, give you good feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that conversation yesterday. I said, I know that you'll really be honest with me. Should I still keep doing this? And so they're like, yeah, you just haven't hit the right thing on it yet. So, yeah.
And so much of that, I think, is the case. Like, it is, yes, there's elements of strategy, and there's also elements of patience and tenacity. And sometimes it's hard to know what is what. You know, do I need to really shift here, or do I just need to be patient?
Mm-hmm.
And that is where, you know, having some wisdom around you in other people is, I think, so key. Mm-hmm. And having the cheerleader. I know that I need that more than I like to admit it.
We all need that more than we'd like to admit.
I'd like to think that I can just be everything I need as far as mindset and staying positive, and that the reality is that my head can get dark, and
we're human. We feel all the feelings.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, we feel the criticism, too. Mm-hmm. You know, if you step out bravely, you're going to experience some haters. And you're going to experience some people who don't think that your work is valid or relevant or whatever. They're going to disagree. And that's okay. It's perfectly fine. There's going to be disagreement and dissension, no matter, you know, if you have anything of value to say, it's going to be met with some differences of opinion and criticism. It just is what it is.
I have an author friend who writes amazing stories, and you know, has a really strong presence on Facebook, and or even on Amazon. You know, the seller's feedback or whatever, or the author's feedback, and we will focus on the one negative comment, right? She has hundreds of reviews that are amazing and that really talk about this, but we will focus on the one criticism. Now, if we're any kind of reflective person, we will probably look at that and use it as a learning point or a pivot point, but to dwell on it, which is sometimes what we end up doing, versus here's hundreds of comments. Mm-hmm. We're focusing on the one that's mm-hmm. really, and it's because it stung us in some space. And yeah.
Well, you know, since we're talking about Brene Brown, you know, she has some really relevant feedback too. And I love that idea of the man in the arena. Mm-hmm. And if you're not also in the arena getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback.
Exactly.
And that's so powerful. I don't have to accept everybody's feedback. Sometimes it is constructive feedback, and sometimes it's really not. And I'm just completely unavailable for attacks, mindless attacks, you know, accusations or name calling. It's just not productive. I'm just not available for it. If you want to give me some sort of constructive you know, solution or change mm-hmm. that could be considered, great. But I need to see that you're also in the arena doing something, because very often we're taking advice from people whose lives we would not want to duplicate.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I have someone that I'm working with who is listening, who wants a successful relationship, but the advice she's listening to are people that have broken relationships or no relationships. Go find a role model of someone that you feel has the relationship you want, versus listening to all these people that want to have an opinion in your life because you allowed it. That's a boundary.
Yes, you don't have to listen to everyone's opinions.
Yeah,
I think that's so key. So I mean, the man in the arena, if you're not in there also, then I'm not interested in hearing what you have to say. Another thing that I remember Brene Brown saying is that her comments, she doesn't see all of the comments on her thing.
Yeah, it's wise not to.
and some of us don't have that luxury. Yeah. You know, we don't always have somebody screening all of our comments and things, but it's something to consider for sure, because people can be harsh. Mm-hmm. And I do know, online and in the physical space, that if I open myself up to a situation where I'm getting a lot of negative feedback, that can rent a lot of space in my head. I can really ruminate on those things for a great amount of time, and it's costly. Mm-hmm. So, I've really learned to tighten up my circles and not allow people who are super critical to have any of my time, really. I don't want to give them my time because it ends up costing me more than just the time I'm with them.
Exactly.
Then I'm like battling and having this resistance in my head far after, maybe days after, where I'm still, defending myself in my head and justifying. And it's just not productive at all. So that's, to me, that gives me an indicator where I get to set better boundaries. So anytime I'm experiencing anger or resentment or frustration or rumination, any of these things, like, it's an indicator to me that I get to tighten up my boundaries and my standards. I get to tighten up access to me.
Mm-hmm. That's the best advice. Write that down. It's true. Anytime you're feeling that, it's always a boundary that you've either let go or not paid attention to, or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately, I still get plenty of these opportunities
to learn and grow.
Yeah. This may be, I guess this is relevant. I'll share a little bit. So, as you know, last week I had an Airbnb guest that was just completely disregarded my house rules. And it ended up being really messy. I ended up leaving my house Thanksgiving Day, and then the days following, I didn't want to be in my own home because it felt unsafe. So anyway, after like 3 days of battling with Airbnb, I finally was able to get him removed. I had to have the sheriff's department here. Like, it was a whole big thing. And the lesson in that for me, there were a lot, but one of them was, who am I allowing access to my space? I'm literally relying on Airbnb to protect my space and to send me people who are in alignment with my values. And obviously they didn't do a good job of that, but I gave them the power to do that. And I'm no longer an Airbnb host. But, we do get to take responsibility for the people that we have in our space. And for me, I opened up my home, and it was very costly because I felt unsafe. It totally derailed me, totally took up my headspace, so I wasn't able to focus on my calling or work. Yeah. And it was such a good reflection, like, this is why boundaries are so key, because it literally impacts my ability to follow through on my purpose on this planet. So I do believe boundaries are a huge part of keeping that imposter syndrome at bay. We already have enough to deal with in our own heads. So to have to deal with everybody else's doubts and beliefs and opinions about us is so much more.
Well, and that's the other piece that I wanted to bring up too, is a lot of the people who want to have a say only have a small perspective. They don't know enough about what you're doing or what's going on, and they're trying to weigh in on something where they only have a sliver of the information, and then they're trying to be the know-it-all on it, because I've experienced that too. Just like, you have no idea, what another person is going through or what they have or haven't done. I mean,
and that's the whole arena thing.
Yeah, they're not in the arena with you.
Like, when we've had similar experiences, let's say like running a business, you and I can both, but if I've never run a business and I'm trying to give you advice about, how to navigate through yours and how simple it is, it's very devalidating because I don't have a clue.
Or I'm a fireman and you're a coach and I'm trying to,
Yeah.
Whatever. It's so funny.
Yeah. No.
Well, usually what happens is people are busy minding your business when they should be minding their own.
And we all have that.
We all have that.
Right? Like, keep your own side of the street clean. That's your only job.
True.
And I get to have that boundary with others when they're trying to get into my stuff, my business, and I also get to be mindful of when I'm doing that to someone else. And like, this is really just none of my business. I need to bow out. So, oh my goodness, Kitty's trying to break in here.
That's because it's exciting in here.
Right? He thinks so.
There's kitty paws under the door.
The door's rattling and there's paws. I love my little
Thanks for showing up, Sierra.
Yeah, thank you. She says, you do this on a daily basis. You are amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate that validation, and I need it more than you know.
Screenshot.
Yep, exactly. I do rely on those little moments that I'm like, okay, yes, somebody's getting something from this, because, yeah, I mean, I know for me, I pour a lot of heart and soul and energy into my writing and creating, and all of us do that are tapped into our creative genius, and it's not always an easy road, for sure. So thank you all for being here with us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for showing up and having this discussion, because I know you're experiencing this too. I know, because you're human. So,
and thanks for the support, because you're here oftentimes with us, and
yeah. So if you care to pop a comment in and tell us how you've also been experiencing the imposter syndrome, and what's worked for you and what you could improve on.
Yeah, we can use some tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start a brainstorm here. If you have some questions or comments about this, feel free to message us. If you would like to talk about some other topic, you're welcome to put in a request as well. You can contact me directly at defytheaverage@gmail.com, or Marie
at mariesgold.com. We love it. Or if you want to challenge us, that'd be awesome too.
Yep,
anything you have.
Disagreement is welcome.
Yes.
With that, we'll go ahead and close up. I hope you have a fantastic week, and you know all the places to find us. Please check out our group, Braveheart Conversations, and you can find our podcast, Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Facebook, everywhere you can think of. So I hope you have a great week, and we will see you next Thursday.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.